Have you ever wondered whether the process of aging is truly a random, unstoppable decline, or if there might be a hidden script woven into your brain that dictates when and how you grow old? Imagine there is a deeper code inside you, one that can either accelerate or delay this seemingly inevitable progression. That might sound like pure speculation, until you consider that many biologists and neuroscientists today take seriously the possibility that aging itself is partly programmed, not just the result of wear and tear. Even more intriguing is the idea that we might be able to rewrite or hack this program. The legendary American physicist Richard Feynman was not a gerontologist, nor did he publish an official treatise on aging, but his approach to knowledge and his relentless, almost childlike curiosity could be the key to unraveling how our minds influence our bodies, and perhaps even how long we remain healthy and vital. Stay with me until the end of this story, because there's a rarely discussed anecdote about Feynman that will challenge your assumptions about whether we can consciously postpone the ultimate fate that awaits us all. In modern scientific literature, the phenomenon of aging is often framed in two primary ways. The first is the idea of cumulative damage. Over decades, our cells experience stress, DNA mutations, and telomere shortening, which leads to disease and decline. The second idea, which has been gaining more traction in recent years, views aging as a partly pre-programmed affair involving epigenetic markers and switches. These switches can trigger processes in your body that ramp up or slow down cellular maintenance and regeneration. Essentially, the more your system believes it needs to stay in top shape, the more it invests in defense and repair. Conversely, if your body and mind send signals that there is no need to keep everything running optimally, these powerful internal defenses become subdued and your body gradually slips into an accelerated aging mode. Why might the brain play a starring role in all this? Because the brain is the central command station that interprets your experiences, habits, emotions, and mental states. According to this framework, the real impetus behind whether the slow aging or fast aging setting is engaged lies in the demands, or lack thereof, that your brain believes you're placing on your system. If you continually challenge yourself, embrace new learning, and adopt the kind of curiosity that defined Feynman's approach to life, you're sending a message that your body needs to keep all systems in prime condition. However, if your routine is static, your day-to-day experience is unremarkable, and your mind is essentially on autopilot, it's as if you're instructing your body that the time of greatest productivity is over. Richard Feynman, 1918 to 1988, was known as a quantum electrodynamics pioneer, a Nobel Prize laureate, and one of the greatest science communicators of the 20th century. While no official text shows him systematically researching the aging process, his broader mindset offers a powerful lens through which we can explore how curiosity might influence longevity. Feynman's hallmark was to ask fundamental questions, break them down into simpler forms, then rebuild them in a creative manner. His method was equal parts logical rigor and playful exploration. Some personal notes from his diaries suggest he believed any code in nature could be examined, tested, and, if not broken outright, at least tinkered with to reveal new possibilities. Gerontologists who promote the theory of programmed aging now make arguments that bear some resemblance to Feynman's statements about persistent inquiry and open-minded exploration. Before we delve further, let's consider a simple but electrifying notion. Perhaps your brain has an internal toggle that decides when to ramp down high-level maintenance. This might not be a literal switch labeled aging on off, but a set of epigenetic controls that respond to environmental cues, including mental activity and engagement. If these cues indicate that you require sharp cognition, robust physical health, and resilient emotional stability, your system might keep investing resources in upkeep. On the other hand, if your lifestyle is repetitive and your brain rarely confronts novelty, your body might interpret that as an opportunity to downgrade certain protective measures. A trivial example could be immune surveillance. If your system perceives an active, engaged existence, it may allocate more energy to warding off disease. But if you seem to be winding down, your system might reallocate resources elsewhere. We often hear that certain people are just lucky to live to 100 or more. But what if there's more than luck at work? Consider the so-called blue zones. Regions like Okinawa in Japan, Sardinia in Italy, Nicoya in Costa Rica, Icaria in Greece, and Loma Linda in California. In these places, high concentrations of centenarians thrive, frequently with fewer chronic diseases and sharper mental faculties. Diet and community support certainly matter, but there's also a pattern of sustained engagement with life, intellectually and socially. These elders do not retire to the couch to watch endless television. Many remain intricately involved in gardening, problem-solving, and community interactions. From the vantage point of epigenetics, all these activities signal to the body that they remain important and must stay functional. Feynman's broader legacy resonates with these observations. Though primarily a physicist, he was famous for his drumming, for venturing into biology labs out of sheer curiosity, for painting, and for exploring remote cultures when he traveled. Put simply, he never let routine settle in. Even if he wasn't consciously trying to hack aging, he personified a lifestyle that aligns with the stay curious, stay young philosophy. Yes, he ultimately succumbed to illness. His life ended at age 69 due to a rare cancer, but his mind remained razor-sharp almost until his final moments. Friends recall that days before he died, he was still inquisitive, asking detailed questions about the medical procedures he was undergoing. Neuroscientists today continue investigating how consistent mental engagement might combat not only cognitive decline, but also accelerate cellular repair across the body. There is a growing body of evidence suggesting that intellectual and creative pursuits help maintain robust neuroplasticity, which in turn can modulate stress hormones, inflammatory markers, and even aspects of the microbiome. When you confront new problems, develop new skills, and remain open to novelty, your brain triggers pathways that tend to maintain a biologically younger profile. This is reminiscent of a Feynman quote in which he likened the human mind to a system that never truly rests, while it can still puzzle out something new. He might not have been talking about aging, but the principle that rest is rust was clearly in play. Countless individuals drift into routine by the time they reach their 40s or 50s. They may believe that the pinnacle of their learning and creative leaps is behind them. This assumption, if the brain code theory is correct, could actively accelerate the aging process. The brain effectively receives a signal. No further expansions are coming. You're free to shut down advanced maintenance and resort to baseline. At the cellular level, baseline might mean less robust repair, weaker immunity, and more cumulative damage. Meanwhile, those who embrace ongoing mental and physical challenges continue reinforcing the signals that prompt the body to keep its defenses high. The question arises, is it possible to reinstate these signals if you've fallen into a humdrum existence? The encouraging news from various scientific studies is that it's rarely too late. People in their 60s or 70s who embark on new learning adventures, be it painting, playing an instrument, or even tackling a new language, often show improvements in brain function that can be measured with cognitive tests and brain imaging. Physical exercise, especially forms involving coordination and adaptability, also energizes the mind. The synergy of continuous brain engagement and consistent movement forms a feedback loop that fosters resilience in the body as a whole. You may wonder what sort of steps you could take to speak to this code in your brain. One approach is to treat curiosity like a muscle. Feynman often emphasized that the hallmark of a good scientist is a readiness to face the unknown, to say, "I don't know," and then dive into experiment or exploration. You could replicate a fraction of his spirit by seizing daily opportunities for discovery. Make small changes in your routine, read an article on a topic entirely new to you, attempt to solve puzzles that are outside your usual skill set, or join an online course in a foreign language. The point is to break the monotony and feed your brain new data. Even micro-challenges can matter. Choose a different route for your morning run, or try to brush your teeth with your non-dominant hand. Novelty is the antidote to autopilot, and autopilot might be the silent assassin behind early aging. Here is a point for the first question. When was the last time you felt genuine excitement over learning something new or tackling a problem you never encountered before? Share your experience in the comments, because your story might motivate someone else who is feeling stuck in a rut. Perhaps the biggest threat to curiosity and mental agility is stress. Chronic stress floods the body with hormones like cortisol, which can, over time, erode memory and hamper the immune system. Feynman, known for his flamboyant sense of humor and ability to poke fun at academic formality, seemed adept at deflecting stress. He once recounted how he made a game out of complex situations, using humor to transform frustration into fascination. While we can't all replicate his comedic genius, we might learn from his example of transforming stressors into intellectual puzzles or comedic bits. Doing so helps shift your mental state from anxious passivity to engaged, playful creativity, a mode in which your physiology is less likely to accelerate decline. It's also crucial to address the misconception that intelligence alone is the saving grace. Many brilliant scientists and academics have faced serious health issues despite constant mental labor. The bigger secret appears to be in balancing intense cognitive challenges with physical activity, adequate rest, social bonds, and a sense of purpose. If you isolate yourself in an office or laboratory, rarely moving your body and ignoring human contact, your mind may grow in a narrow sense, but your body and emotional well-being can suffer. Feynman, while known for extraordinary intellectual pursuits, also danced, banged on bongos, traveled extensively, and maintained rich human connections. That vibrant mix of physical, mental, and social engagement is what we might call the real longevity trifecta. So how could you concretely apply the Feynman approach to your daily life to thwart or at least delay the push of aging? One method is to foster what we might call intentional curiosity. Instead of letting curiosity strike at random, schedule time to pursue a new interest or skill. Another trick is to cultivate a willingness to appear foolish while learning. Feynman was notorious for asking basic questions, unconcerned about seeming naive in front of peers. This openness helps rewire your brain by breaking down the fear of newness or embarrassment, which so often holds people back from trying fresh endeavors later in life. It's worth mentioning that some researchers, like Harvard's Dr. David Sinclair, propose that aging is akin to a software glitch accumulating in the epigenome. If so, then steps that reduce epigenetic noise, regular exercise, a balanced diet, adequate sleep, stress management, and, crucially, mental stimulation become tools to patch the glitch. Even if you remain skeptical about the idea of hacking your biological clock, the net effect of a Feynman-style life stands to improve your day-to-day health, sense of purpose, and resilience to disease. Another example that highlights the brain's role in systemic health is the phenomenon of placebos. Countless clinical trials show that belief and expectation can produce measurable physical changes, including pain relief and even shifts in immune function. If a mere belief in a sugar pill can spark some beneficial processes, imagine the potential impact of a sustained deep engagement lifestyle that consistently primes the body to stay robust. Aging is, of course, not merely a mental construct. Our cells do degrade over time. Even the greatest minds cannot indefinitely stave off disease. Feynman himself battled abdominal cancer, and no amount of wit or curiosity reversed that fate. But there's a difference between the inevitability of mortality and the pacing of decline. By adopting certain mental and physical habits, we may substantially influence the trajectory of how quickly we succumb to diseases, how effectively we maintain our cognitive edge, and how thoroughly we enjoy the years we do have. As you reflect on these possibilities, you might ask whether it's all too late for you. What if you already feel physically and mentally old? The uplifting news is that numerous studies indicate improvements in cognition and physical markers of health at almost any age, provided the stimulus is sufficiently challenging and consistent. The brain retains plasticity well into later life, though perhaps not as vigorously as in childhood. If you decide to learn a second language at 70, It may be slower going, but your efforts can still profoundly boost neural pathways. That principle could open the door to renewed curiosity, new friendships, a sense of achievement, and perhaps a body that, somewhat surprisingly, experiences fewer aging-related setbacks. There's also a social dimension to consider. Feynman famously enjoyed entertaining others with stories and performing feats of quick mental calculation. In group settings, the synergy of multiple curious minds often exceeds the sum of their parts, creating a communal drive to learn and discover. If you can embed yourself in a community, be it a local club, an online forum, or a set of friends who meet for walks or intellectual debates, you reinforce each other's stay engaged signals. Group curiosity can be even more potent than individual curiosity. A subject rarely touched upon, but deeply relevant, is how stale relationships can accelerate mental and emotional stagnation. If you surround yourself with people who no longer question anything or who discourage your new pursuits, it can be an uphill battle to remain dynamic. Feynman's social circle often consisted of diverse, stimulating individuals, from mathematicians and artists to drummers and historians. By consciously seeking out varied perspectives, you keep your brain on its toes. This variety can be critical for sustaining that protective sense of novelty. Here's a point for the second question. Which new practice or habit, physical, mental, or social, are you willing to adopt starting tomorrow to spark your curiosity and signal your body to remain in growth mode? Let us know in the comments, because sometimes the best way to solidify a commitment is to state it publicly. Now, as promised, let's move toward a curious anecdote about Feynman that, while unverified in official publications, has circulated among those fascinated with his private letters and notes. The story goes like this. Late in his life, Feynman wrote a brief, personal note to a close friend. In it, he speculated that the mind could choose not to enter a final shutdown phase if it persisted in finding the world around it eternally intriguing. He allegedly used a line like, "You don't die all at once. You die piece by piece each time you let your brain rest for no good reason." It was a short, almost flippant remark that might have been meant humorously, yet echoes the entire principle we've been exploring, that a dormant mind may accelerate the body's demise, whereas an active, questioning spirit could coax more life from every cell. This anecdote is consistent with how he faced his own terminal condition. Physicians said that for someone as ill as he was, his clarity of mind and wry sense of humor persisted longer than expected. While he couldn't conquer cancer permanently, he might have managed to hold onto his self for extra weeks or months by refusing to surrender that unstoppable curiosity. We can't prove such intangible claims scientifically, but they do stir the imagination. What if our capacity to remain intellectually engaged can literally fend off the worst ravages of mortality for a meaningful length of time? We can't avoid the truth of death, but perhaps we can avoid a premature surrender that so many slip into. If we take just one lesson from Feynman, it might be this. Keep asking questions, keep tinkering, and never stop marveling at what you don't yet understand. In practical terms, this translates to weaving novelty and discovery into your daily routine, be it through study, physical challenges, or new forms of creativity. Each day, you're confronted with a choice. Drift into the gray comfort of habit or spark the bright fires of curiosity. When we see the vibrant spark in the eyes of an 85-year-old who still paints or composes poems, it's a potent reminder that the mind can champion life, even when the body begins to fade. It's as if that spark is telling us, we're not done yet. In the end, this might be the real brain code that wards off accelerated aging. If anything, Feynman's legacy teaches us to remain unafraid of ignorance, but also unafraid of forging new paths to eliminate that ignorance. Yes, genetics and environmental factors will always play a role. Yes, a random accident or an unfortunate diagnosis might claim even the most curious among us. But from a purely pragmatic standpoint, wouldn't you choose to live with an ongoing sense of wonder and exploration, rather than letting your mind shut down prematurely? Embracing new experiences can improve not just how long we live, but the quality of those additional years. Thank you for reading this story all the way to the end. If you've made it here, you've demonstrated a capacity for sustained attention, which in itself is a sign that your brain is ready for deeper engagement. Consider making that leap toward a new project or habit that signals your system that you are, indeed, still in the game. While we can't promise immortality, we can promise that the pursuit of knowledge, creativity, and curiosity is its own reward, one that might just extend both the length and the vitality of your life.